It looks like we are live right now, so I'm going to go straight into the link so I can. I wish there was a better way to do it. I have to set it up somehow where it goes shoot straight to Twitter. And I know there is a way, but I'm a little lazy. So let's see, send this right to Twitter and get some heads on us. And let's see, featuring. I'm gonna tag you. All right, I already sent it to Twitter. Now I'm gonna make sure I got the chat box in case anyone decides to jump in. Now that we got that going, all right, we're gonna start this. So welcome everyone to Q&A with Mr. Switch, and it's been a while. It's been like maybe a good 2 weeks since I've done it. So I got Ryan Drayson. I want to introduce him. So welcome to the stream.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the podcast. Yeah, so yeah, I'm glad that I got you here. I asked you before. I know you got some things going on, so finally, I got a chance to kind of meet you more in person in a way through a virtual. But let's start off. How did we first meet? Kind of.
So if I remember correctly, we were both kind of checking out the Nintendo Power Couples YouTube channel, each separately. Obviously, you're from the U.S. and I'm from Canada, so we were each doing that separately, unbeknownst to each other. And I think I commented on something you posted. I replied to a comment that you posted to one of their videos, or maybe it was the other way around. And we both like Nintendo games, so I think we hit it off pretty good. And next thing you know, I was hanging out in some of your Mario Kart streams, and we're having a good time, having some races, and yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. I do remember when we met and you started jumping in some races and just started again join game and playing together and gaming it together. So let's get to that big question. Take your time. You can be as long as you want it. Um, Give us your gaming life story from start.
All right, yeah, uh, I'll try and hit on mostly just like the major things because that's a pretty long story overall. I've been gaming since I've been about 5 years old. My parents picked up an NES. My uncle, my uncle and aunt, my grandparents, everyone had an NES back then, and so it was totally normal at like family gatherings and whatnot, or just at home to sit around and play the NES. Um, we had um, we each had like our own game for it. So my mom, my dad, and my sister and I, we each had a game, and then of course it comes packed in with Mario Brothers. We got the one that came with Mario and Duck Hunt on the same cart, and
Awesome.
yeah, I had tons of fun with that. And a lot of it is still really like to this day is muscle memory. So I play like the Mario 35 now, and I mean you have the bad runs where you hit something right off the start, or you're out pretty quick, but um, after like a rusty match or two, I get right into it, and you're banging away at that, and just I don't know, it all just comes back basically. Um, I mean, I don't do super great at 35, but I've had a couple first places. So when I really kind of got hooked on the hobby, I played NES growing up, and then I got a paper route when I was like 10 to 12 years old, and I saved up and bought the SNES with Donkey Kong Country. Yeah,
It's been very exciting. I'm sure.
oh yeah, I love Donkey Kong Country. I To this day so many nostalgic nostalgic feelings come up. I had to, when it came out on Switch Online, I had to play through it from start to finish, even though I've long since 100% of the game. Every time I get a chance to play it, I just have to. And at that time, it was like I think like Toy Story was the only thing comparable. Like, obviously, it was processed um, so that it would work on a 16-bit system, but like the computer modeling that they were doing, like Toy Story and stuff like that, was the only thing comparable that you were seeing. No, nothing did 3D modeling at the time, so it was just mind blowing, and the game was super fun to play, and so that just hooked me. Um, it hooked me on Nintendo. It hooked me on gaming, and so I stuck with it all those years. Every time something new came out from Nintendo, right away I had to buy it, whether it was launch or like as soon as I got the money together. Um, I think most of their stuff I've gotten since then at like GameCube going forward. Uh, I've hit all the launches, and I mean, other than Nintendo, I played a bit of Genesis, like at babysitters, stuff like that. Um, it, what kind of like tipped me over to Nintendo over Genesis, specifically, was my friend had both. A friend in school had both, and the one day we were playing at his house. We were playing, I think, Sonic 3. It was 2 or 3, and it the system just crashed out. And I was like, okay, well, I guess we'll play Super Nintendo. And the Super Nintendo was working, so I'm like, okay, well, I guess a Nintendo system is more reliable. And yeah, so I just stuck with them. I had a friend that had a few friends in school that would have like the PlayStation, PS2, Xbox over the years, and so I tried stuff on that. And I mean, there's tons of good games on every system, but just I've always just had that love for Nintendo. Um, and then I've kind of like developed a sort of smaller love for like within my love of gaming. I have love for certain franchises. Like um, I was always really disappointed that the Final Fantasies stopped coming to Nintendo series systems. I didn't get into that until um, playing a bit of Seven at a friend's house, so I had to buy it on my PC. Super excited that all of those older ones are now on the Switch. Um, Series, like, I enjoy Halo a little bit. The earlier ones, I've kind of lost track of where the series is at anymore. And yeah, there's a few things here and there. I tried a bit of Dreamcast too. Dreamcast has some great.
Oh yeah, that's that. I love that system. I don't know why I don't have it anymore, but oh wait, because I had to sell it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's man, that was a good one.
yeah, there's some great RPGs. Some of them I think came to GameCube. I would love to see. Um, it's not even like a secret for me that I love this game. I guess it is with others because it's like I don't talk about it a lot, but like I would love to see Skies of Arcadia redone in HD, or even just port it. You can't get, other than going after the Dreamcast copy or the GameCube version, which, as far as I'm aware, is going to set you back a decent amount of money if you already have them. You can't get that game on anything anymore, and it was so good. So yeah, I'd love to see that come back. But um, yeah,
Yeah, so give me what is your favorite game of all time and why?
um,
If you have like a top three, it's fine because I know there's probably a lot of great games, but
yeah. No more. I have like a so I have more of like in my head a top five of like series, but that said, that's kind of a stretch because like I that sort of fifth spot is like a sort of placeholder for like whatever game I kind of like at the time that doesn't fit with the other four series. Um, I would have had a really hard time answering that question
Just
up until
if you got a top five, top 10, whatever you got.
yeah, no, I would have had a hard time a couple of years ago saying what, like narrowing it down to one. And then the Switch came out and Breath of the Wild launched, and oh my, like I have put, I think, 250, 45, 55 hours into that approximately, according to the Switch. Um, Not just beat the game, not just did all the shrines, found every Korok, labeled it, like found all the locations on the map. Um, I just loved that game. And the interesting thing about that, like I was getting so hyped after the first trailer launched and seeing the E3 presentation, the first one where they were like showing kind of the plateau and the early parts of the game. I was getting so hyped over that. Leading up to launch, I would watch like everything Nintendo put out for that game, and just kind of like some videos like 3 and 4 times I would watch the trailer. The week leading up to it, I watched uh, I think it was January, the Switch presentation where the trailer they ended it with. I would watch that like every day the last week or so
How
leading
many
up to
times
launch.
have you watched the trailer to when they first revealed the second one of Breath of the Wild? How many times have you seen that trailer? You know how spooky it was, kind of crazy. Like
Yeah, yeah.
several times, or many times. I'm
Five
saying.
5 or 6 at least. Yeah, it's a. I'm super jazzed for that. I'm so glad that they're doing another game in that style. I actually thought though, like leading up to the launch of Breath of the Wild and the Switch, I'm like, oh, to reference it to something else that I've enjoyed when I was younger, but something that's disappointed me more recently, or at least disappointed me when I was a kid. I think about like Star Wars and getting all excited for the prequels, and then I went to the theater, and I mean, I think we all know what we got there. Um, Whether you like it or not, it wasn't like it does not measure, even the new Disney stuff. Most of that does not measure up anywhere near to the originals, and so like as I'm watching the last week the Switch presentation trailer for Zelda over and over again, I'm like, oh no, like am I overhyping myself for this? And I like, not a word of a lie, I booted up the game on launch day. Um, when
How many
you
hours
get
you got on Breath of the Wild? How many hours do you have?
uh like
I'm trying to find you.
245, 255, something like that.
Oh wait,
Um,
yeah, I got you. Yeah, 255 on two or more. Man, but you're cranking those hours on like Xenoblade. You're like almost
yeah,
you're
Xenoblade
345.
2 is rough because of that RNG with the rare blades. I have one of the original rare blades left to get. So a lot of the recent hours are just kind of like going back to the game every now and then
But
and
your
just
top game,
pulling.
your top game is 415. Which one is that one?
My top game is Animal Crossing. I don't think anyone's surprised. I don't think
Hell
anyone's
yeah.
surprised in this climate. Animal Crossing is an easy one to just like every sort of every night basically do like an hour just to relax and then switch over to something else anymore. Uh, there's nothing really left that I'm trying to accomplish in it at this point. It's just like, oh, it's just nice and relaxing, and I can just kind of do whatever I want for a little bit. So, um, but yeah, uh, breath breath blew me away when I played it. I'll word of a lie. When I got out of the Shrine of Resurrection, I I I think you have a bit of a limited path at first, but I climbed up a tree and found an egg, and I like whatever 100 odd hours Nintendo had shown of that game at that point. Never once had I seen someone like I've probably seen it off the plateau, but just the idea that I could find it's so stupid, it's such a small thing, but that I could find something that I had not seen in 100 plus hours of footage. Like I didn't know there was anything in this specific tree. Um, it was just like, okay, I'm so enthused to play this, and like, well, like you said, 255 hours. I've explored like every small, like that's to the smallest extent that you can get down with that game. So
Man, it sucks because like right now, uh, I'm actually replaying Zelda again the last couple 2 weeks or so.
yeah,
I switched my switches. Well, my daughter has the first switch that I first got, and I got the new Animal Crossing switch. So now all I got is 30 hours or more. Like man, and I had like over 200 or whatever. I had just more. So I'm trying to see if I can maybe transfer all my data back into this. I know I can. Just gotta make sure I do it because I want my hours back. Zelda. But in the meantime, I just got done. I don't know if you saw it on. I beat the game without the other day without getting any of the without defeating or any of the divine beasts. I didn't touch none of them. I just picked up a lot of heals. I found I had like 13 fairies, and I
yeah,
went there. I went into the castle. I searched for like these like let's say fire, what do you call it, fire bombs and ancient arrows. I was looking for certain things, and I went in. It took me several tries, and then I had to keep. It took me a while, and I have it recorded on my Switch, and I posted a lot of the videos. So I beat it with four. I had 4 hearts, and I finished the game with 4 hearts and not defeating the divine beast. And now that I've done that, now I'm going into just playing the game all over again. See if I can get the beat the game in all its entirety. It's gonna be a while, and then maybe even do should call it do the DLCs also. So it's just
yeah,
the game has so much playback value that I don't think any other game has like this one. This one is just so good. And the Animal Crossing always got that playback, but I dropped Animal Crossing. But I'm like, man, I should just. It's hard. I love Breath of the Wild.
yeah.
So what do you think of the new Super Mario Bros. 35? Like the
It's really fun. I've stuck with that a lot more consistently than like so when Tetris 99 came out. Um, that was big for a little bit. You don't hear as much about it other than like when they're gonna do the I guess themes or whatever from time to time. Um, I dropped off of Tetris 99 pretty quickly. Like I like Tetris well enough, but it's just it's it's kind of more it falls more into that Animal Crossing category for me where I like to relax with Tetris. So and I'm better when I can and like I know it gets stressful, it amps up in speed and that and eventually then my game goes south and I fail at it, but generally getting to that point it's still fairly relaxing for me. So to play it competitively is just like I'm just not there. It's not my where my headspace is at all when I'm playing it. Mario 35. I mean, Mario is not typically it's typically a one player, but I think just the whole killer be killed sort of nature of the game, my brain more easily goes to I can compete at doing this. And I think, like I said, talking about growing up with that game, there's still a lot of muscle memory there. It'd be like kind of not quite the same, but like playing Donkey Kong Country, I just go back to it and everything is just like, oh yeah, I know how to do this. And so I stick with it. I do that. Same with Animal Crossing. I do that like once a night and probably like 2 or 3 rounds whenever I play it. And yeah, I think they've done a good job. I honestly hope uh, that they kind of rethink the limited time nature that they have set for it. There was talk that it was only going to be for however long, like 3D All Stars is on sale for, or something to do
Oh
with
yeah,
like the
that's crazy. It's
30th
such a cool
anniversary.
game. I want to play it more, but I don't. Knowing that the game's gonna be canceled out what in March or something, it just
Yeah,
bums
something
me.
like
Like nah. I don't got time for it. I'll play every now and then, but if I knew it was gonna stick around, I'm just like, man, I don't know why Nintendo's doing that. Looks like I love Nintendo, like them doing that. It's just I just think it's they can that game. Everyone's always gonna play if they keep it on. It will not die out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I totally agree. Um, I don't know. All we can do at this point is kind of like fingers crossed, hope
They're
that they
gonna
change.
realize it. Like leave it on. You should leave it. I mean, it's even with like give me your insight on. Did you get it yet? Did you get the Super Mario 3D All Stars yet, or have you played it? Or
Yeah, no, because I've been out of work recently. I'm waiting on that one. And I have to be honest. I know people are big on collecting, and not to say that I'm not. I definitely do my share of collecting, but that's going to be a game when I get it that I go digital. Um, I I have very mixed feelings overall on 3D All Stars, and not just simply because I have mixed feelings in terms of what's in, like, my my general thoughts on the Mario franchise kind of, they pretty wildly vary from game to game. So the package as a whole, it's not consistently like, I think like, oh, this is awesome that this exists, but the whole this is awesome is not consistent for every game, even in that package for me. Like, I have very, very different opinions of each of the games, I would say. So
yeah, for me, I would say. Hold on, let me lower this volume here. Let's see. For Mario 64, I mean I like having it that I can play anytime I want. I every day I might get a star or two. I'm not rushing into games. I never really played Sunshine or Galaxy. My kids did, but now I can play them all right on the Switch. I got the cartridge. You can put it in. Played Mario All Stars. I didn't like that they changed certain voice parts when Mario throws Bowser because people thought he said something else. It's just ridiculous why they ended up changing certain things. But I would say to get the best experience for Mario 64 is played on his original 64. And that's one thing that I'm like I got Zelda 64 and I love it on my original 64 system. So I am looking I'm gonna probably find it I know the store has it, so I'm gonna probably get the original game. The other games they came out what on like the Wii or Wii U or so, Sunshine or did it come out on GameCube or something like that? But either way, those other two games are great. Everything is a little how do you say it's not much of it's just a little small upscale, maybe a little brighter. I mean, it's not nothing. It's not like a totally redone. Nothing's redone really. It looks nice. It looks really nice. I'm enjoying it, but overall, I think the best experience is when you played on its original consoles. Overall, it's cool to have it on the Switch.
yeah, yeah, where possible, like ideally you want to play it on in the original format it came from. Um, I mean, there are times where, not this package, like more, I'm thinking more of like, because I love the Zelda series, Ocarina and Majora on the 3DS, where they overhauled them for that system. Um, I would say, arguably, though, at least definitely Ocarina, because the inventory management system in both is a lot smoother with a touchscreen, or just anything other than the basic C button thing that the 64 had to work with. Um, but the water temple is so much better, so much less frustrated. Not like the temple was hard, just the constant item switching to sync, like get the iron boots on, sink down, go back up, uh, all the changing the water levels. Everything was just kind of frustrating, not from a gameplay perspective or that it was hard to play. It was just unnecessarily, annoyingly overcomplicated. And that's just all, like, that's what the technology was at the time. That's how the controller worked, and those sorts of things. But it plays so much better. And frankly, the games look so much better, I find, on the 3DS as well. Now, other hand, they did the same kind of idea with 64 on the DS, and no, the the original is still by far the best one. And it makes a good case from what I've seen online. Again, I haven't got 3D All Stars yet, but from what I've seen, they kind of just like took each of the games as is and upres them. So like where on a system like the 64 especially, but even on the Galaxy is a Wii game. Um, I haven't seen any examples of Sunshine, but the GameCube's less powerful than Wii, so I assume it's the same. Um, you where they do tricks like the low poly models when they're farther away from the camera in full HD with like full upres to HD full quality, you can see that. And they never intended you to be able to see like, oh, suddenly Mario's head looks misshapen because he's supposed to be far away from the camera, and we had like a blur filter or whatever going, or just we were relying on CRT television. Um, Now you can see it, and it's like, well, it's still as fun to play, but that doesn't look so great, right?
I
Like,
don't. There's a part when I was playing Mario 64, and I don't remember this happening before. And then when I was playing it on this Super Mario 3D All Stars, I'm at the very top of the first boss on the first picture frame in Mario 64. You get to the very top, and as yeah, you were saying something similar. As you got more distant, his head changed, looked weird. When he got closer, it looked more like Mario. I backed him away from a distance. It was just off, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get the original cartridge, and I bet you it doesn't do that. So something's wrong with the this whole thing with the Super Mario 3D All Stars. Like, it's off because I know I played it to heart when I played on the 64. So those are the two things I want to compare, and I'm gonna do a recording on each of them because if it only happens on the All Star 3D All Stars, that's messed up. They should never let those type of little things happen. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think the game was so perfect, so good in its original form when it came out, especially when we were both probably within our teens when that 64 came out, and so that was the experience there that it was. And now that I'm thinking of this, isn't next year Zelda's 35th anniversary?
yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, next year is the 35th for Zelda, but then I read somewhere, it was just on Twitter, so who knows how reliable it is. I remember reading something about like there's a Donkey Kong anniversary coming up as well, but that's kind of specific to original Donkey Kong, not Donkey Kong Country just had its 25th, and Nintendo didn't do really anything for that. I just remember, I think it was Boundary Break did a sort of chat with some of the original Rare creators. So that was really cool. But the original Donkey Kong, and it might be, I think they might all be next year. The original Donkey Kong and Metroid. And quite frankly, like I would love to see. They wouldn't do All Stars because that's a like that goes back to the Mario All Stars on Super NES. But some kind of package, or ideally like really rework the graphics of some of the 3D Zeldas. I would even take a straight port, honestly. I'd love to just have Ocarina uh, on my Switch.
Yes.
Now, for just the one game, how much I would pay for it, and that's kind of where 3D All Stars gets also into like a weighted on it a bit. Is like I'd love to play 64 again. I don't as much care about the other two. They're good games, good to great games, but I would have been fine with being able to buy them individually and just get 64. Of course, at a reduced price comparative to the set. But yeah, I'd love to see them bring over some Zelda games. But even more than that, to be honest, I would love to see them first of all, actually recognize if Metroid is also next year, like actually recognize
Okay.
Metroid. Metroid is a good series. Let's give it some
Oh,
love.
for
And
sure, man.
like talking about HD collections, with what they did, do that with Prime Trilogy. Like Prime Trilogy never looked that bad to begin with, or even like the original releases each game. When they brought it for the Wii, all three in one, just port that and HD upres it. You can do exactly what you did with like they can do exactly what they did with 3D All Stars, and I would be so satisfied with that.
Yeah, I'm like I'm so like I love Mario, I love Zelda. Like with Zelda, I do want them to do. I don't know if I want them to compress all these games into like they do with the Mario 3D. They should have them separate, maybe. I
Yeah,
want so badly on Zelda, Twilight Princess. We do want well, all the Zeldas are pretty much good, but Twilight Princess is the one that gets me so much, and I want that. Wind Waker will be another good one, but or whatever. Just yeah, if they did a package thing, I just I just hope they don't just squeeze it in the thing and that's it. They need to make sure that everything's running good and doesn't look like it's not as well. I mean, Mario 3D All Stars is great, but it can be better. I think it could have been better, maybe.
yeah,
Um, but with Zelda, if they did something like that, it would be cool. But going into Metroid is the one that I want more than anything. I would like to see a trilogy. They keep talking about over the years. They did it with everything else, but do it for the Switch. Upscale it real good, make it look real nice, like you were saying. And I would love that so that I can have time to wait for Prime 4. Because Prime 4, there's so many people, all these big top creators from the Call of Duty series, some of these top designers from Halo and Borderlands and all these other people are all on it right now. They're all working with Retro Studios making this Metroid Prime 4. They just keep adding more guns to the big game. It's like, how could it not be Game of the Year if it comes out? And when is it going to come out? I'm hoping sometime next year. I can wait a year later, but the thing is like this has got to be something so big that for us Metro fanatics, give us something to hold us off for a little bit, so we could just like take a deep breath. Like right now, like Zelda, like for instance, next what's the let me see. Right now we got that Xbox that's coming out, the Series X. You got the PS5. You got those things coming out. Those guys coming out in November, and next year's gonna be big for them. They're gonna have all these big games or whatever. So Nintendo's got to bring something to the table. Prime Trilogy will be awesome, and something with the Zelda 35th anniversary. You know,
yeah.
they gotta have to, they're gonna do something. I can always tell you right now they're gonna do something. We didn't expect the Age of Calamity. We didn't expect that to come out at all until like what, about a month or two ago. How did you feel about that when they announced that?
Honestly, I gotta say, when I saw the first trailer, I was like, so through most of it, I was like, oh, cool, they're doing something more with Breath of the Wild, and then I realized it was a Warriors game, and I was like, oh, because I've never liked that genre. Like I think it's called Musu, or basically where you have like 100 guys thrown at you and you got to kill them all. I've never liked that genre. I guess it's kind of funny for me to say as an RPG, like a hardcore RPG fan or JRPG fan, where it's all turn based and a lot of it is command menus. But the thing with an RPG is like I'm thinking about what I'm doing, what I'm picking off these lists. Yeah, maybe the gameplay isn't that exciting for people who don't like it, but I am kind of like for me, my brain is really engaged by that. Um, Whereas the Musu games, the 100 against one, I find a lot of that to be very button mashy, and so I've just never gotten into it. But um, all this the trailer after trailer, the things that they're showing, I get more and more interested in it. I'm very interested in the story that they're hinting at, and like that there's a lot more to the time of the calamity than what we know from Breath of the Wild. And having them showing off the gameplay, honestly was a good thing. I got kind of not excited, but I was like, okay, this has a bit of like, you see Link doing the backflips or some of the other characters doing the backflips from Breath of the Wild. There's a bit more nuance to the combat, and it doesn't seem like, I mean, I don't know if you're pressing the same controller inputs all the time, but it looks like at least different things are going on the screen, and it just something about it seemed a little bit more exciting to me. So I'm kind of like more and more getting towards like, yeah, I think I'm gonna need to pick that up and have the full between that and Breath of the Wild 2, and having already played Breath of the Wild, have that full now it's going to be essentially a trilogy of gaming story for that Zelda series.
I was telling my son the other day, we were talking about it, and I was like, man, I played the first Hybrid Warriors, and I was playing through it a little bit, and then at halfway through, I just stopped playing it. It was too much of this, just going crazy. The hundreds and thousands of baddies coming at you or whatever. But it's just like that got boring to me. It just died out of me so quickly. It's cool, look great, and all that. But no, thinking the same thing about Hyrule Warriors. After seeing plenty of it, I do like the fact that it's based on how do you say, Breath of the Wild. And when I play Breath of the Wild now, as I did before, when you go to certain scenes, you wish like, man, I wish I knew what happened here. It looks so cool,
Yeah,
like some of the how was this destroyed or whatever. So that's what this game is gonna give us, and it shows us a lot of good, cool movie scenes or whatnot. And something like now we get to see, now we get to know, and so that's what I want to do. So I'm just gonna, bash around or whatever. But yeah, some of the fighting does seem similar to Breath of the Wild. So they're gonna maybe the combination of things. So I'm like, okay, now I really want this because I want to know what happens, and this is a
yeah,
good thing for getting us ready for the part two of Breath of the Wild. So yeah, so that's something that I am gonna look forward to getting. I think it's November 20th, right? November
yeah. I
20th.
think so. Yeah,
So yeah, so it's definitely a very exciting thing to come across, just the fact that like with Zelda's what's holding me down right now, especially with waiting for the big one for Metroid and things like that. We all love Mario, but I think we want something more, and that kind of thing. So I think from now to the end of the year, Nintendo's got to have something, at least another big announcement. I don't think they're gonna go the holidays without something more big to give us. I'm predicting some kind of big thing, and maybe some type of Zelda, or maybe give us something on Metroid. Someone did say about Metroid trilogy. I gave up. Everyone keeps saying the trilogy. Oh, it's coming, but it hasn't. It's been years, but I'm hoping some more Nintendo 64 game. Give us some Donkey Kong 64. Shoot, I take Diddy Kong Racing. Give us what someone a major source did say. Um, and other people have been saying about them adding. You know how you have your. Let me see if I can scroll down to here. You have your Nintendo Entertainment System, Nintendo Switch Online, and you got your Super Nintendo Switch Online games. They're saying they're going to add the third category, and I guess supposedly it's going to be 64, and that's what I would love to see. Now, I mean, what do you think? You think that's possible?
um, I think anything is potentially possible when it comes to Nintendo. Like if it's something Nintendo owns, like you said, they're good about like they just suddenly surprise us with stuff. And I think even kind of first of all, props to them for how they've managed through this year because COVID has affected everyone.
Yes.
And people complain a lot online about how Nintendo, like what Nintendo's put out this year. It's like they haven't put out significantly less than what they have most years, like through the Switch's lifespan. So no, cut them a little bit of slack. They've done pretty good, I think. Um, but I think they've even kind of like responded to the complaining people do online, where they're like, okay, forget it. We're not even gonna like announce that we're doing half the time that we're dropping something. It's just all of a sudden, here's a trailer. Like, oh, and everyone goes nuts for it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's cool. That's cool.
I won't be surprised with anything that they potentially do. I think 64 and 64 Switch Online. Definitely, a lot of Nintendo fans would be really happy if that happens. I'd like to see it happen. And I mean, really, only Mario 64 out of anything that would come from that is the only thing that they're already offering. And kind of that, like, with how they're doing 3D All Stars, I wouldn't be surprised if the limited nature of that purchase is because something is coming where you're going to have another way of playing. Like, if you have N64 online, why wouldn't Mario 64 be a part of it? So then if you didn't buy this package, you can at least still play Mario 64 through, as long as you have the online service and as long as that's still supported on Switch,
That
obviously.
makes sense. I think it's the first time I've heard that way, and I don't think anyone's really thinking about it. Again, you're the first one that mentioned it that way because yeah, like what if they got that coming out, and if you don't get this, you're gonna be able to play it on the online service. Even if it's Nintendo Wii and the Wii U had all these major categories open. You can play anything from Neo Geo to whatever. All of it's there. Why isn't it all here right now with the Switch? And they make the online so much more cooler if they add in all these categories back, or at least give us 64. So yeah, I'm thinking. Someone said supposedly there's an announcement coming up for the end of the year regarding that. So I'm just really holding my fingers together. Somebody said don't forget about Kirby. I played a lot of Kirby, and it's Kirby's definitely a great series too. I just gave more love to Mario and Zelda and Donkey Kong, and I play Kirby well with my kids. But were you into any of the Kirby's at all, or as much? Not really.
No, Kirby is a series I've honestly, so there's not a huge number of Nintendo series that I've not ever experienced, similar to like with their systems. I mean, I've even played, I never owned a Virtual Boy, but I've even played that. So there's not a lot of gaps in terms of my Nintendo playing, but more with series. So like Kid Icarus, I've never played. Like I don't know if they maybe in one of the Smash Brothers you got to like demo some games. I think maybe that was on the Wii U. So maybe in that capacity, but like I've never fully played a Kid Icarus game or like actually played a Kid Icarus game. Kirby is another one. Um, I may I may have tried it at a friend's house or like uh, I think I might have tried them since they put it on. They put some Kirby games onto the existing Switch online. I think like NES or SNES has some Kirby game on it. But no, I've never really gotten into Kirby. I appreciate why people like him, but um, I've kind of, going back to my gaming history, I've kind of gotten out of platformers as I've gotten older. I still love like the older Mario's, love Donkey Kong Country. Um, but I hit kind of those teenage years, and between first getting into Zelda, I love that series to this day. First experiencing Final Fantasy, and again, I love that series to this day. I have all the ones on the Switch that have come out. Um, I just kind of like, I guess my taste matured a little bit over that kind of N64 era into GameCube, and then Metroid also kind of helped that along too, like playing Prime. It's like, oh, this is just an awesome, amazing game. So I started to grow more towards like action and adventure and RPG, and yeah, I've never really gotten into any of the platformers that I missed through the years. So Kirby, um, I mean, he's an interesting character, but no, I've never gotten into any of his games.
Yeah, I was never myself too huge to Kirby, but he's a lovable character no matter what. And just yeah, just because there's just so much that I can't. I wish I don't have time to get into every single, you know, whether it's Mario, Donkey Kong, or Zelda. I can get into those, but not everything. Like my kids they'll play anything Kirby, kind of thing. And so it's not always for everybody. But I mean, because like right now, I'm playing a lot of Animal Crossing, a lot of Zelda right now. I was playing some what was that game I was just playing? Shoot, Assassin's Creed. I got 4, 5, and 6 on the Switch, so I'm still trying to play through 4, and I want to go back to that. But I'm gonna try to stick with those. The Mario 3D All Stars, and the other two Zelda, and I still gotta finish again Mario Odyssey. But I'm trying to get back to also my backlog, Ghostbusters, a video game remastered. So it's like get into some of those other games, or even Batman the Telltale series is crazy cool. If you never tried that out, it's just like unexpectedly, I really love that series. So I'm gonna probably play that one, beat it, and get the other ones that they have. But What games right now are you currently playing besides Animal Crossing?
So yeah, other than Animal Crossing uh, and Mario 35, um, I have tried talking about backlog. I have tried this idea of like, well, what if I just play one, like other than these games that I can do kind of like a little bit and then finish and go on to something else and kind of relax for the night. Um, I've tried to do like I'll tackle my backlog by doing one game at a time and finishing it, and ideally, if I can, 100%ing. Although I'm finding I'm kind of getting more. I'm sorry, I'm getting kind of like less and less kind of enthused with 100%ing every single game. Like even if it's a game that I love, it better real like the to 100% at all the side quests better be really really fun to do. Like Breath of the Wild was so much fun to
I
explore
think
that
I could do that. I could do the hundred
yeah,
percent on that one.
yeah. So that was a good time, but I do that less now. But so I've been like, oh, I'll do one game and that'll get through my backlog quicker. Well, let me tell you, that is absolutely not effective in any way, shape, or form more than doing a bunch of games at the same time. Like I've gone through no further with my backlog than I would have to just play a bunch of different things here and there. But that said, I am currently playing as my main after I do the hour or so each of Mario 35 and Animal Crossing. Uh, I've been playing Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. It's the only one in the series that I've not played before. It came out so close to the tail end of the Wii that I was gearing up to buy stuff for the Wii U, and once I tried X on the Wii U, I regretted missing missing the original. Uh, and to be totally honest, I'm not through obviously this one yet, but it's a strong contender to be my favorite in the series, and definitely the series has made a strong impression on me. So like talking about favorite series, Zelda, Metroid, Final Fantasy, and then Xenoblade. And then, like I said, that if you're gonna do a top five, the fifth one is just like whatever I'm into, other than those 3 or 4 series at the time. Yeah, Xenoblade is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think Xenoblade is what I was playing when it first came out. I was enjoying it for a bit, but it was just so massive. But then I had all these other games too. But out of the different versions of Xenoblade, which one should I get overall? Like if I wanted to play one of them, should I just start from the beginning from the first Switch Xenoblade, or should I get one of the more current ones?
Yeah, that's a good question. So um, they're all, how do I put this? They're technically like Final Fantasy in the sense that they're all their own unique story. They're each one set in a unique world. However, um, you should. I don't know, I'm kind of dancing around this answer because I don't want to spoil anything, depending on where people are in
It's all is it
like
all a
the series. But
continuous thing, or is it just all these
yeah,
different
no. So
versions?
each story in like so you have Xenoblade 1 or Definitive Edition, you have X, and then you have 2. Each one of those games tells its own story that starts and ends within that game. Um, the Torna DLC is kind of like for Xenoblade 2 is like a 2.5. So it goes and shows you. It's kind of like Age of Calamity, if that was only like if that was a much shorter game um, than it seems like it's going to be. You do something that happened in the past that the game reveals to you over the course of the story. It kind of gives you an idea of what happened, and then you get to actually play it out in the DLC. Um, so yeah, each game is its own thing. You can pick up anyone and play it, and they um, Definitive Edition and X, I would say, play similarly, like the way that what they call the arts palette is laid out and how you're picking moves, other than your basic auto attack. 2 plays very differently. Um, you can pick up and play any of them. I would say, though, if you're going to play X, that's fine to play in whatever order. And I'm honestly kind of glad that I played that one first, because it's not really sure whether it wants to be a story-driven action RPG or an MMO game. So I don't feel like it ever fully commits enough to the story that it's trying to tell. And it doesn't help that your character you're playing as is basically like an avatar. So he or she has no character. They're just kind of reacting to what's going on around them and letting other characters tell their own stories. Um, if you're going to play Definitive Edition, so any version of 1 and 2, you should play them in the numbered order that they come in. And to avoid spoilers, I can't explain why. It's something you won't learn until well into whichever game that you're playing. But there is a good reason why you would play those games in order. And I would say, not having I've only played Definitive Edition, not any other version of 1. I would definitely get that one for Switch ahead of like going and buying or if you have already a new 3DS, playing that version. If you can track down a Wii version, there's just so many quality of life things where, like, I said about 100%ing a game, it's got to be worth it. Even Definitive Edition, there's so much content and so much to do that I'm not sure I'll do every little side quest, because so many of them are like, go kill X number of this monster, or like find a bunch of this resource. And unless the story I'm getting from the characters is really compelling, that's not always super interested in doing that. But it does make it easier when you're doing those quests. It'll give you like markers on the map so you can know at least where you're supposed to be going. And apparently the original and the 3DS port of it, they never did that. So plus it's not a DLC, it comes on the game, but there's like an epilogue to the story that plays complete, like it's a separate option in the menu. So definitely Definitive Edition for the money that you're paying, or potentially paying for the other copies. It's the way to go for sure.
Okay,
With the first
okay,
one.
that's good. Right now we're within the last we got 5 to 10 minutes. Anything else you want to go through? Anything you want to say? I'm trying to think. See what else can I ask you. We went through a lot of good stuff within your history. A lot of the main games you're playing now. I mean, just yeah, when you're on Twitter, that's how basically we still communicate. I think we do on Facebook as well too. So
Good.
anything on ever creating anything in the future? Were you ever interested in just being streaming at all, or just something you didn't think of doing, or just like just to play at home and whatever
Yeah,
crossed your
I've thought about that. You know, I don't know kind of how interesting the way I play is to like a lot of. I like to kind of try and get the full content experience of a game that I'm playing, and I don't kind of like the idea of scheduling my playtime so much from what I've seen streamers do. I enjoy jumping in and having fun with someone, and this has been kind of a cool experience to like actually talk to someone else and not just type in whatever I want to say, but to actually talk person to person. I've enjoyed this, but no, I'm more interested in connecting with people and having conversation. I don't think I'm interesting enough for someone to sit and watch me do what I do, or at least the way I play a game would not. They wouldn't necessarily be interested in sitting and watching that. And so I would say, I'm mostly active if someone kind of messages me directly uh, on my social media, or otherwise, like when I join a stream, I'll be active typically in the chat, and those are kind of the best way to connect with me. If people have heard anything I've said and felt like, oh, I like the same kind of stuff, or even if you like different stuff, I'm always willing to talk with people. And um, I have other interests too that you can kind of see in the background. We we talked. We did a
That
good.
is that Avengers or something like that? What is that? I'm trying to see.
So this here is I think it's out of Star Wars Insider magazine. It's a map of like the Star Wars universe, but from pre-Disney. So a lot of that is no longer accurate. And then yeah, there's the uh, Infinity War, and the poster next to it is the IMAX opening night for Endgame. And yeah, so I like MCU. I like movies, obviously sci-fi, and comics. I collect comics, not just the movies. I got into the superhero movies from collecting comics for a number of years, and any of those things, if people are interested in, I talk about that stuff, or just talk about whatever people want to talk about.
Yeah, for me, like I wish I had more time to like when I was streaming, maybe about 2 years ago, I was streaming a lot more, or even a year ago, I was streaming a lot almost every day, and then it started getting a lot since Luigi, my son, he's a year and 7 months since he was born. I started realizing streaming during certain periods of time, I had to start lessening my time. What it was Mondays. This it was like Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, and then the podcast came along slowly, like in April. So then I was doing all three, but then streaming was like 2 hours, and then sometimes it'd be almost 3 hours, and I realized the time I was taking away from he's there, he's in the other room with his mom, and that's why I'm like, you know what, I gotta lessen up a few things here, and so that's where streaming kind of faded out. And I will be streaming. I'll probably be streaming some Mario Kart this weekend. So like he spends time with his grandma and grandpa. So depending on what's happening and what time I got, I'll be able to do streaming here and there. But that's where the podcast now became the big thing, and now here we are Q&A, Mr.Switch. Now we got the Gamers Room, and we got some big things next week. We got Triforce Johnson next week. We got J Love 81 this coming Friday. We got something huge. Don't tell no one. I told you we got a big thing next week. I told Ryan, don't say it. Something huge is happening next week. One of those unexpected, and you're gonna be like, huh? How did he get him? Oh, just one of those. It's cool. You just gotta be vocal. You gotta talk. You gotta just people might ask you, how did this occur or whatever. You know what? How simple it actually was by just appreciating who those people are and just saying hello, greet the person, and that's what I do. I tell them how everything is, how's family, whatever, or like, how are you, kind of thing, and then just say this is what I do. And at the same time, I don't want to just bring people on and then never talk to them again. No, I want to keep on talking with all the guests that I come around, both of them who are before, and keep in touch with everyone because I want to reinvite them back in. Something for like a December thing for Christmas, something else I got inside. But I want to make sure that I'm not just trying to say, oh, I'm just going to grab someone on. I want to know about them, about their gaming life, a little bit about if they want to talk personal, it's up to them, or talk about their, whether they want to talk movies or whatever. Like Ryan, you're a very interesting guy. You got good things to talk about. I'm sure we could go on for hours. I'm sure we can. But
Yeah, I think.
we just barely grazed the gaming part here. But I'm sure like if we
Yeah,
ever did this again, we could talk about movies. We could talk about old school cartoons. We can There's a lot of things that I'm sure that people would enjoy chatting with you about. So for sure, we'll talk. We're gonna be talking soon again, and when we can bring you back in, maybe you can even join the gamers realm too. Jump in with us, and then just kind of, because like I said, because there's always room. Sometimes some of the guys can't make it because everyone's got personal lives, but maybe you can
yeah.
It'll be like a fill-in kind of thing, and I'll talk to you about it, and you can jump in with one of the guests too. Kind of stuff as the weeks go by, because we got a lot of we got guests more the rest of this month. We got the next 2 months already packed. So I'm gonna start putting in people in December. I haven't yet, so I got all of the rest of this month. Like next week is Triforce Johnson and our special guest I won't say, and then the week after that is gonna be Retro Ralph, and then after that there we got several people for already covered for all of November. We are not gonna stream. We're not gonna do a podcast for the last week of November. I'm assuming. I'm thinking just because it's the holiday kind of thing, Thanksgiving. Everyone's gonna be out going crazy with the Black Friday or whatever's going on with that. Maybe I'll do one, maybe not. We'll see. But I know that I can easily find someone for that last spot. But other than that, yeah, it was a good time. Good time that we talked, and much
Yeah,
appreciated.
thanks for having me.
And I hope that eventually, like I said, very soon I'm gonna be talking to everybody, and we can get you back on, and that way we can all like pop in with the gamers rum and everything else like that, and just have you seen the new cool song we got? We got the nice cool
Yeah,
little
that's there. Yeah, that's
the
really cool.
intro the intro by TJ the Gamer. He's from Master Sword Music, so we're helping a lot of everybody get connected and just create this
Yeah,
bigger and better community by communicating with a lot of people. I'm still like I'm hoping to get I'm only hoping to get John Riggs soon and things like that, and that's I can't eventually when if people have time they're able to, and I'm just gonna keep on trying different categories. Like I said, I've been going after a lot of like even trying to talk to a lot of voice actors from gaming, from games or whatever, and see like I even did the voice actors from I talked to I didn't talk to them, what you call it the Last of Us series, the Last of Us of the game series from PS4. I text each of the voice actors and other like major whether it's I even recently yesterday I sent one out to the voice of Samus from Metroid Other M from that game series. So I'm trying to. So I'm waiting to see where the responses come, and I got a big response on one of them. So that's we're gonna find out next week. The only I and Ryan know, and the gamers from, but nobody else. So we're gonna have a big awesome. I'll have an announcement on Monday, this coming Monday. But either way, I think it's cool. And again, Ryan, we're at that point. But any last things you want to say before we head off?
just yeah, thanks for having me, and yeah, I'm really jazzed about what you're doing here. I think it's really cool, and I appreciate that you considered me for to be part of it, and you know definitely talk through some of the stuff that you mentioned going forward. And yeah, thanks again very much.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's kind of it's exciting. The more as I we keep doing this, I didn't know or suspected how this was going to turn out. Starting when we did it in April 4, April was it 14 or 13 when we started our first episode, and now we're growing and we're growing and things are just kind of picking up, just getting a lot more better. We're having a lot more again people join up and bigger names pop up and and like I said, I tell everyone this is not about just I turned my channel, Mr. Switch and Turn Apart Life, into a podcast. It's not about me. It's about everybody else. It's about you today, Ryan. It's about everyone who comes by, all the gamers around. It's about them. So I don't always moderate. I'd like to give the moderation or to be the head host. I like to make sure all the guys in the podcast have the opportunity. So that way we have more of an opportunity. I want to get more gamer girls on too, because we gotta appreciate the gamer girls too, and the guys and everyone. We're all equals here. We're all gamers. We're all having a good time, and no matter if you got 20 subscribers to millions or whatever, we're all the same here. We're all the same people here. We're all struggling through the COVID stuff. We're all trying to be safe, and we all love gaming. And again, I want to thank you again, Ryan, to for giving me the opportunity to interview you and getting to know you a little more. And I'm sure we'll have some more opportunities soon with you. And I want to say everybody in the chat, video game lover, Luigi guy, and everyone who jumped in. Josh, I want to thank those guys for jumping in the chat, and we will talk to you guys next time. See you guys on the on Friday for Gamers Realm. See you guys next time.
Take care.
Okay, me and you are still on